next guest, all the way from the Norge train depot, Steve Dartt. I don't want to put you on the spot here, but the bar has been set very high. Please join me in a round of applause, Steve.
Okay, just so everybody knows, I don't have an inside voice. I think you'll be able to hear me pretty good. Interesting stuff when people do presentations about like wild animals. You know when you see people in Yellowstone and it's like, I'm gonna go mess with this bison, and then you find out animals can run 50 miles an hour. It's like, you can't outrun this animal. You understand that, right? He's got horns. It's like, really? You know, it's like really stupid. The turnout here is excellent tonight. I mean, I really hope I'm good. I can talk. I've got 5 lie detectors in here. Folks from the depot and my wife. So if I say anything is not quite right, I told them to raise your hands, you know. We do Q&A, it's like raise, you know, I've let them help me do the answers and everything. They always say when you do a presentation, oh, and the kids did a wonderful job. Did they help make the cookies? The reindeer cookies? Those are good cookies. They're probably all gone by now. There's some good cookies. Ann and I are looking, so we get more, and it's like, no, don't be pigs. Don't go get more cookies.
Where are the train cookies?
With some train cookies? You don't want my train cookies. You know, they used to run on coal. That's kind of what they look like. You know, so it might not be so good. They always say when you do a speech or talk to people about stuff, you know, keep it long enough that it's interesting and stuff, and people don't wander, you know, and get bored with it and everything, and short enough that you try to get people interested in where you are, because we're like right over there. The depot's right over here by the library. Somebody had said they didn't realize where the depot was until they were at the library and they see the caboose in the depot. It's just like right across the tracks, because it used to be right back here. So I tell people that's the end of the presentation, just go over the depot. So, to me, it was always, if I was ever going to teach history, I would always do it or start with what's going on today and then go backwards. So that's kind of what I was going to do here. And the reason I'm saying that is, the reason I've stayed involved and enjoyed being involved, and I think other members too, with the Depot Association, is it's a good group of people that have got the preservation of that, the history of Norge and all that stuff at heart. Sherry and Lynn are daughters of Francis Ann that spearheaded Saving the Depot, wrote Willkommen to Norge, you know, the book. I've got some up here actually for sale, and they got one here they're going to raffle. Their mom wrote that with Nancy, Branchall, sorry. And so it's just interesting about how there's a collective interest in this area and everything. The one thing I want to mention too is the Grand Illumination Weekend, we usually are open when the Forts Colony folks come to the library. So that weekend, that Saturday and Sunday, it's the first Saturday and Sunday of December, we're open both those days. This year we had a hot dog guy on Saturday, we had food, the whole thing, and we just enjoy it because we get to draw the library, and then all the people, you know, everybody comes to see our setup, the history of Norge and all that kind of stuff. So it's, you know, it's the group of people, we've got folks that are carpenters. Dennis does painting and lettering and stuff. He's redone a baggage cart that is just beautiful. We have Bill Fox is an engineer kind of on the crew. I'm the resident welder. You know, we've got a caboose now we're refurbishing, so I've been working on welding the caboose and doing all that. And we got a long ways with stuff. We're probably, I don't know, Dennis, you think maybe 40% complete on the caboose, 50? Somewhere in there? Maybe?
Something like that.
Okay, cool.
Explain what Forts Colony does that week.
Yeah, what it is, the Forts Colony group has set up our HO layout, which runs very well at the far end of the depot. But they come on that weekend and set up a bunch of different gauges at the library. And we've been fortunate, sometimes they've had to go to the striker because the library, down in Williamsburg, because the library was being refurbed. So they couldn't set up and everything. And we really lose a lot of, you know, folks coming in and the interest of it and everything. But I think it was in 2021 when COVID was kind of ending and everything. On that weekend, I've never seen the parking lot where there was no place to park. We had on the 2 days, that Saturday and Sunday, we had 900 people come through in 2 days. So they must have been thousands in the library. I mean, it was just amazing. We get a good, we do nothing but donations. You know, we're all volunteers. We have some money given to us because we're part of James City Historical. and we're on library land, so, but we're all volunteers and everything. One of the things Dennis mentioned too, when I got in, we saw everybody, it's like, we're here to recruit too. If anybody's interested, talk to us after the meeting. Come to the depot. We're open 10 to 12 on Saturdays and 2 to 4 on Sundays. Most of us, we just have a meeting on the third Monday, but most of us only work 1-2 hour shift a month. It's not hard. To me, it's wonderful because, like, when you bring in your kids and everything, you have this huge span of ages that comes from, 90, and you've got little toddlers coming in because we have a little Thomas layout, and they can play with that. They see the HO layout run, the history in Norge, and all that kind of stuff. So it's really a lot of fun to see people. I got a couple stories about being working in the depot and doing things too. We had a lady come. She was from Hawaii. And she had a walker, and the caboose is sitting on railroad tracks, so she wheels up to the tracks, and she stops and she looks both ways, and I said, good for you. It's like, they're not live tracks, but you're not gonna get by train, But the other one I thought was pretty funny is we have a 1,500-pound freight scale in there, and it's very accurate. I get weighed at my doctor, and I go in there and see how I'm doing, and it's within a few pounds, that's everything. So I have little kids come in, I said, get up on the scale, and I weigh in everything. And this little boy looks to his mom and goes, Mommy, get on the scale. It's like, son, age and weight. Don't ask your mom to get on the scale. Gentlemen do not do that. And he's just like, what? And mom's like laughing her head off. So it's just really funny. We were very fortunate. The depot is like turnkey, basically. It was refurbed, moved over there and refurbed by Michael Hippel. All we do is show up. It's got actually geothermal heat pump for heat. It stays warm, it stays cool. It's all, and it's taken care of physically under the auspices of James City. So we don't have to do a lot of that. The caboose is a lot of work. That's stuff that we're still doing now. We're slowly getting there and stuff. But the history of the depot in a lot of ways is, it's about this area suddenly becoming like a town. Carl Berg, I've got a lot of stuff up here. Dennis did this for the Rotary, the 2 bigger ones. We've got some artifacts. We got an old candlestick phone like you'd see in like Andy Griffith or something in a lantern. And in 2007, his pictures right here are 2006. Sorry, it's when the depot was moved. It was dilapidated. It's amazing it hadn't been burnt to the ground either by accident or on purpose. It was in rough shape. But they do the house moving. They get a huge steel beams under it, and they moved it over there. And then these we're fortunate enough to receive about a year or so ago. Paper does not survive. And these are from the 30s, 40s, 50s. We've got calendars in the depot now, paper calendars. And a lot of people here are probably somewhat familiar with railroad stuff like C&O. When they say sleep like a kitten, and they've got the kitten is here, and you got this kind of, actually this is basically the Chesapeake Bay. If you look at it, somebody had the imagination, it's like when it's got its paw in there and everything, it's like the rivers and bay here. So it's kind of cool when they were built. But that was their standard thing. It's in this one too. It was all sleep like, and when it was, you could ride the railroad, ride the passenger trains, and be, sleep and be comfortable and everything. We got Nancy Bradshaw and Francis Ann wrote the Welcome to Norge and stuff in 1989. And if you haven't got a copy of it, it's very interesting reading. Somebody is going to win it tonight and everything. Fascinating stuff about it. But you'll see the dates for a lot of this stuff. The post office in the early 1900s, the depot in the early 1900s. This was built in 1908. Viking Hall. So it's like the things we're starting to incorporate a little bit around here. There not being a depot here, there was one in Providence Forge, you had one in Toano, Lightfoot, and then I think probably the next one would have been Ewell, and then Waynesburg. Well, there was farms in here. They said the unfortunate thing was I was reading a lot of the history to do the presentation, and during the Civil War, Richmond was burned bad. And a lot of the records had been moved up there and they were destroyed, so they lost a lot of the records and everything. But Olive Branch up here was built in 1835, so there were people here. There was a lot of people here. There was stuff going on. Some of these things I put up here. One thing I thought was pretty interesting, it's pretty funny. There used to be a frog farm here. They used to raise frogs to eat and make leather and stuff out of it. It's just interesting the things that were around here, which means you had to have ponds, and everything. So it's really kind of funny. But this area, Carl Berg enticed people to come from where he was born in Wisconsin. He was born in like 1849. and he enticed people to come here. He was a land agent for C&O. Well, the growing season here from Wisconsin has got to be 2 more months. You know, and I tell you, when you have you do the reindeer, but also when they were strolling the stuff in Norway, that's some pretty rough terrain right there, and that's cold. Now I know it's colder here than it had been there, but you know, you saw the stuff out on the oil rigs out in the ocean and everything. I mean, it's just like to have people come here from the Midwest. It's like entice people, and you know, I did a lot of farming and stuff here in the town. You had a lot of stuff here. You know, you had sawmills and all that, and of course the railroad was employing people too. But Carl being a land agent and everything, you know, he got everybody here to come because land was cheap and it was a whole lot more moderate. And he actually bought some land here in 1896, but he didn't live to even see the depot open. He died in 1906. He was only 57, so he's a pretty young guy, you know, and everything. But he got everybody to come here and everything. One thing I was going to share a little bit too was when we were moving stuff and getting everything into the depot and everything, we had to store things in places. And the neat thing was, we have a couple people that work for James City. They're part of the group and everything. And is anybody here familiar or know about that Vermilion House? Is it where Jamestown is, in the visitor center? There was a home there, it was like a mansion almost, and we stored stuff there. And we said, let's go get there and we'll get this stuff from Vermilion House. And it's like, you know, you had the campground behind you, you got the visitor center here, in the James River. I mean, this is like a piece of property. I'm like, this is kind of cool. I'm seeing some pretty cool stuff here. You know, when we stored these things. So we had the crossing signal we had on the tracks. You know, what is it, WGBH, the radio station here? Whatever. Yeah, is it W? I think that's WMBG. We want to go get this. You know, Chris told me, we're going to go get this signal and everything. So before we go to the radio tower. So you go over and you look at this 500-foot radio tower. It's like, where is this? He goes in the storage right here. I'm like, you got to see some cool stuff doing goofy little things like that, you know. So I think the thing that's always been fascinating to me, I really enjoy about the group is we all have a lot of core strengths. We all really like each other. I think the people that are part of the depot are just really wonderful people, and I want to be part of that. You know, and everything. We're always looking for new folks to come in. To me, it's just fascinating to talk to people. This area is such, I mean, how many people here were actually born and raised here? Okay, cool. I mean, you're yelling at me. Yeah, I just got here. I'm 10 years old. But so many people here are transplants. So when you have people come in the depot and talk to you, interesting, you know, walks of life, their occupations. A lot of folks that work for the railroad, a lot, you know, police and all these different things. And I think that's one thing is we've got David Hertzler's had his construction company here, and a lot of the carpentry work we've done on the caboose and everything, all these things. We get stuff that are deals. You have labor that's either cheap or free. It's just, you know, the civic stuff, just like this organization here. There's something about civic organizations, you know, supporting communities and doing all these kind of things. I'm not going to be really drawn out and everything. Kind of any questions about the depot in itself, or yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, where was it in relationship to this building before it was moved?
How far away do you think it was?
Right about that way, about 500 yards.
Okay.
Okay.
On the tracks.
Which side of the tracks was it on?
This side.
Yeah, this side. Yep. Because everything, I don't know, other than the Hunt's Farm down here, there's really not anything across too much, is
There
there?
were just a couple houses.
Yeah, just until you get further down. Yeah. Yep. Yep. The other thing, oh yeah, go ahead.
So how many, when the town was full, how many Norwegian Americans were here?
Oh man.
There were, by 1906, there were 60 families.
Mm-hmm.
And I think within 5 more years, I'd almost doubled.
Okay. And I think I saw in there the ratio was like Norwegians were like 90%, and then Danes, and then
There were a few Scandinavian.
Scandinavian kind of
Yeah,
things.
that's right.
Yeah. Another thing that was interesting about the depot too, and it's something I've kind of forgotten about, but I wrote it down here. Just in passing, everybody saw the paint went on the depot, and there's like, you know, this mustard yellow. And they're like, man, I don't remember being like, well, before it basically became so dilapidated that C&O abandoned it. It probably was just gray because it was the paint they had. But they did forensic analysis of the paint. And if you go to Lee Hall Depot, it's the same color. It must have been their standard color, everything was yellow. You know, so to some of the old photographs aren't color, so you don't really know about a lot of things. So yeah, it was some not arguments, but people were just a little bit disturbed. And I said, no, it was yellow. That's just because of the color and everything. Anything else? Yeah, go ahead.
So when they widen Crooker Road in that area right in front of the library and Depot, is it gonna go wider library side or other side?
Oh, to expand the bridge and everything?
Yeah.
Not really sure. I mean, they can't.
Road right here.
Yeah, I don't think you can encroach too much into the library property. Maybe they have to go the opposite way, because there's not really houses going that way. You know, other than down, you kind of get in that gully and everything there, but it would kind of encroach on the apartments that are right there. Really don't know.
And the other thing, when I was making the Facebook post for this, I was intrigued to see that there's a Wikipedia page about the Norge Depot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. I should have done my research there. Do you trust Wikipedia? I think I trust Francis Ann more.
Yeah, the depot got set up where it's at due to a nice deal struck by Sandy Warner, who was county administrator at the time, and he worked it out with the library where we could have that chunk of ground where the depot sits now, because we didn't really have any place other than a chunk of ground behind the old farm fresh that the railroad wanted to sell us. But we didn't have the $30,000 they wanted, so we had to go with a cheaper model. And that's why we got it set up where it was. And it's really a nice job. It's really one of the better restorations in the area, and we're very proud of it, I guess, most of us. Have an association with it, and with the sharing industry of the county, with those who are coming to see us.
Mm-hmm. Well, another part that goes along with too, if you ever want to come to the depot to visit just to look around, you know, the hours are somewhat limited and everything right now. We have a huge collection of railroad books. It's amazing how much railroad library we have in there now. The donations we've gotten from people, because really, I don't think the building basically had much of anything in it when we got it, because it was pretty much used as a maintenance away building. You know, it wasn't dispatching locomotives and trains anymore. It wasn't dispensing mail. It wasn't doing anything. How many people have been inside the depot from here? Okay, yeah, got a few people. You have to come in and visit and stuff. It's very interesting. Really enjoy it. So, yeah. What's that?
If you find a library, they'll find it.
Yeah, I tell you, a little library, it's over here.
I mean, it's not that hard.
Oh, right. It's kind of odd being, you know, it's back off the road a little bit. You'd have to, but if you go by the book drop or something, you'll see it there. And I think it kind of startles people sometimes. So, yeah, go ahead, Court.
There's a much smaller depot building on Moortown Road. Someone just reminded me that. How did that relate to the one here in Norge? Was that purely mail or anyone?
Oh, you mean like what? Mule, basically on mule? Yeah. Yeah, it's quite a bit smaller, and I think that's the full size of it.
Right. When they sold it, the people who owned it picked it up and turned it like this, so it's not sitting parallel to the track, and it's lengthwise, it's sitting this way, so it's between Moortown Road and the tracks. But it's a private house now, it's converted to a house living on the inside.
Yeah. I don't know.
Did it have any relationship to what was shipped out of Norge or brought into Norge?
No, being so far away, it would have been, well, I mean, the thing is that those days, the railroad was the mail service. You know, so they would probably, you know, of course, a lot of times they would just throw the bags off and then have a catch to pick them up and everything. So they were doing more of that, but it's possible once in a while, if they had a siding, they could drop a box car or something there for produce or something.
The Norge Depot was used as a passenger stop until 1930. Richmond Road got paved, more automobiles were out, and most railroads were kind of cutting off these little small stations. And Norge's passenger station, or passenger service was cut in, but its freight service stayed until 1969 when the last station agent retired. And then the railroad kept it as a warehouse for communications equipment until 1990.
There you go.
Did it ever have a siding, or was it just a straight track line?
It was a double main line here at the original site, and then there was a siding a little farther down.
Yeah.
Now
Because
that's sort of juxtaposition, there's a siding.
even though it's not functional anymore, and the floor, we've got an old school Fairbanks Morse scale that probably would weigh 2 tons. So there was some freight going out of there. You know, and of course they need that for weight and how much they can charge people and everything, but a lot of produce went out of here. This area grew a lot of
Area
stuff.
as well at that time.
Yep, lumber, you know, frog legs,
Lumber.
you know, you got frog legs. You know? Or whole frogs, you know, when you think about it, it's like, oh, it's under frog. Refrigeration was pretty primitive then, you're just doing ice, you know, so. Oh, Courtney, had another question?
No, Dennis mentioned, actually, you mentioned, the produce. This was a major produce producing area.
Mhm.
So was most of that shipped by rail then? Out of,
Yeah, except for what was sold locally.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, everybody remember the, Back to the Future movies and everything, and what was it, this third one that was a Western?
Yeah.
Okay, and Jack Elam and Marty are talking, and he says, "What do you got on your feet?" He goes, "Running shoes." He goes, "Running shoes." And he goes, "What do you need those for?" He goes, "I run for fun." He goes, "Run for fun?" And I know people run for fun, but what he's saying is, if you didn't have a horse, you were walking everywhere, so you wanted the railroad to be around, or horse and buggies, because they would get you places, you know. But I always thought that was funny, run for fun. Bad joke, sorry. Yeah, sure.
So of your current membership, how many of them have like connections to the railroad industry, either in past or present? You know, like their employees or?
I don't think,
None, I don't think there are any from,
not now.
connected to CNO.
No.
I'm connected with railroad stuff in the Midwest with my parents and grandparents. That's another issue. You know, Lynn and Jerry and their sister Chris, they all, and their mother, they're all playing around the depot.
Mhm.
So they have very much of a local connection with us.
It was a communication connection. I mean, of course, you had telegraph, but it was a
Yeah,
communication.
well, the thing about the depot is when it was first built, and if you wanted to go anyplace, Williamsburg was the most likely candidate to go. You could pay a quarter or whatever, get on the train in the morning, go into town, shop all day, whatever you want, and the next train in the afternoon comes out, hey, get on and come back out here. You didn't wanna, walk or take a horse into Williamsburg, it'd take you a couple, 3 hours.
Mhm.
Until automobiles became the thing, and that's what killed the passenger service.
I mean, I've got, oh, go ahead.
We had aunts that lived in Joanna and caught the train to go to William and Mary.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, because that really, the Williamsburg station. The other thing that's kind of cool too is we've had, folks make some dioramas. We've got the Williamsburg station diorama. It came from Kurt Riceweber, but somebody else built it. It's O scale, like Lionel scale. And the thing is beautiful, and we've got it up on top of one of the cabinets. It's just, and it's funny to look at it because it's like, that's still in existence. You know, it's still exactly the station. Of course, I think they do Greyhound buses and stuff out of it too.
But yeah,
So,
they do now, their center, because it was built when they started converting Tony Williamsburg.
Yeah.
Station at that time
Yeah.
was right behind the governor's palace.
Yeah.
And they had to move it all over down towards
Yeah.
that thing, and we basically rebuilt it.
Well, I think the question that John just had too is, when you think about in modern times, I mean, I've got cousins, my best friend from high school just retired from NS, but this is up in New York State. So many people, the jobs just disappeared in the railroad. You know, they're talking now, they want, it's kind of an aside, they don't even want to have firemen on the train anymore, they just want the engineers, period. You know, and I'm like, maybe just have one person. Of course, a lot of stuff's radio controlled where they can stop the train and all that. But I'm like, man, are you sure you just want one person on this whole train? You know, so it's funny is that they just manpower and reducing costs. So, but not anywhere near as many people. But folks that come in the depot from all the areas in the country will talk about, working for them and everything. We've had some NS people come in and I'm impressed with it. The other thing too is that anybody here been down to Lee Hall also? Yeah, Lee Hall. You pay to go down there, but that's a nice depot too. It's just, ours is more the history of Norge. This is more like it was a working depot.
And it's free.
Yeah, we're free. That's why we need volunteers.
And donations.
Yeah, and donations. Any other questions and stuff like, yeah. Oh, the third Monday 6:30 to 7:30. I think is it when the meeting is here normally too. See, unfortunately, we conflict with y'all.
We would normally be at a meeting that.
Yeah, we
Kansas
decided
City
to.
meeting.
Yeah, because of MLK Day, the library. We're only open when the library's open. We don't have facilities. You have to go to the library, and the library holds the key, so we have to go to the library to get the key to get in. So, and it works out kind of nice because the security system, we have fire, and as secure as anything can be because half the time if you come by and go, there's 2 James City cops will be sitting there talking or sitting doing paperwork. It's like, yeah, we're safe. You know, I think we're real safe here.
I will say our meetings are mostly business right now. We have
Yes.
community program situations.
Yes, yes.
That can always change down the road.
Yeah. And we've had some interesting speakers come in and do stuff. People here familiar with Jack Ray, who's doing stuff up in Toronto, refurbishing. Yeah, he came in, was it 3 years ago? Or was it pre-COVID? Was it actually COVID, pre-COVID?
Right
He
after.
came in and talked about him redoing Toronto, and of course, stuff's starting to pick up, refurbishing stuff. And then Kurt Rice-Weber's written a lot of railroad books, and he came in and talked. We infrequently, but it's, it's interesting, we enjoy it, so.
If you all get a chance to look at these pictures, this will give you a really good idea of what Norge and Toronto Library Corridor was like 120 years ago. And it will give you a real sense, hopefully, the reason for the railroad and why the railroad was such in big demand. Those things aren't here quite the same now, which is why the railroad sits on the river.
Well, I think what's cool about working and doing stuff in the depot and volunteering and everything is kids with Thomas and Chuffington and all that kind of stuff, and we still see trends. I mean, you hear one come by here, it's like we all still see trends. These are kind of boring, it's always coal, and you see Amtrak. But if they have a derailment, coal doesn't kill you, it just makes a big mess. Some of these trains derail, you're like, man. But yeah, I enjoy, like I said, folks coming in. The group as a whole is just wonderful. All walks of life, the common interest in it. I'm glad to be part of it. And it's something here that'll be around a long time. The one thing too is, in this building probably is, it's on the National Historic Register now. Nothing can happen to it. They can't touch it. Nobody can ever touch it. And that makes me wonder about the road being expanded then too, because up here at the corner you got the bank, and now you got the new development down in the gully right there, kind of. You can't come this way all that much. I think the road expanding would go toward that hillside and down. I'm not really sure. So, but yeah, we got.
Yeah, that is where we go from the light
Yeah.
here, just past the library, is where it goes to the 40.
Well, good.
That's their idea.
Yep. So, no other questions? We got, like I said, Dennis, I'll spread these out a little bit up here on the table. You can kind of look at them and everything, but it's interesting, and it's in basically blown up pictures. Thank you too, man. They did a great job on it. I'll extol Printwell up here. They did all these things. Printwell's a good group.
I will say this again, we are, as Steve said, we are truthfully interested in membership. Our membership has gone down due to the age of our membership, for that lack of a better term. And so if you're interested in railroad history, James City County history, come see us, talk with us, and if you have a hankering, become part of it.
Yeah, I think I'm the third youngest guy, and I'm almost 66.
I wouldn't spread that around, you're very proud.
I was gonna say, I just look over. It's like, buddy. Well, anyhow, thank you.